Hello everyone, welcome back to JDCodebase. This is the web development series. In the last video, we learned how Redux Toolkit manages the normal state like counter and to do. But real application don't just store the static data. We fetch the data from the APIs. We login user, load the products, we send data to server, and all of that is asynchronous task. So today we are going to understand asynchronous Redux in the simplest way possible using the Redux Toolkit RTK and the createAsyncThunk. So don't worry if this is your first time learning, and I will explain everything in a very simple way. So let's start. Now what we will learn today we see the this what is asynchronous task state in the Redux, create the asynchronous chunk, and how to make the API calls using the in the Redux toolkit, and real world example also. Now why we need the asynchronous Redux? So imagine you are building a real app. You need to fetch the user from server, login a user, load blog post if you are building a blog app, and products to the cart in a e-commerce website. All these things require API calls. Now the important thing is API call do not return data instantly, right? They take some time, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe some more time. That is called an asynchronous behavior in the coding. So asynchronous, what is asynchronous is, asynchronous means the code does not stop and wait. It continues run. When the response come back, then we handle it. In JavaScript, asynchronous happens using the fetch, axios, promises, async await. So now the question is, how do we manage this asynchronous data inside the Redux? So problem before the Redux toolkit, see, Redux and Redux toolkit, both are the different terms. This Redux toolkit is, this one is a single term, this is called the RTK, and the single Redux is a separate term. So before the Redux toolkit RTK, asynchronous Redux was complicated. We had to create the action types, action creators, Thunk function. Don't worry if you listening these words first time, don't be fear of this. So we have to separate reducer for loading, success, error. Too much work played for code for this, and too much confuses in this. And that's why Redux Toolkit introduced something very powerful, that is the create asynchronous thunk. So Redux tool give us the create async thunk, and this function handle the asynchronous logic for us and automatically create the three action types. That one is the pending, fulfill, rejected. Like in the normal promise, if we say a normal promise give us the three things, whether it is accept or reject, or reject or the accept, and if or in the fulfill or in the pending state. So when API start, it's come into the pending state. When API success, it goes into fulfill. If API fail, then it comes to the rejected. That's it. We do not create them manually. Now let's create then in this create async in the React app. So this is a normal React app, and we already write the store.js file for the counter function. This is a counter slice we already see, and counter function component, and this one is the counter app. In the last video we already see. So let's write the here. Let's make a new folder. We also see the folder structure here, features. In the features, we have to create a one more for the users, and inside the user, create user thunk .js. Now these files take the all the asynchronous operation like fetching the data, or means getting the data means. So for that, first make const fetch users is equal to create AsyncThunk, and this come from the Redux Toolkit from the RTK. And if you do not know how to install, just write npm install and write here Redux JS Toolkit. Now inside this createAsyncThunk, it takes two things. First one is the type, means a name. The name here I am giving the user fetch user. This one is just a name, and always give the specific task name, like here I am fetching the user. Next one is the async function, async arrow function. Inside this const response is the await, and use the fetch API, means fetch for the getting the data. Now you have to give the URL. If you are completely in the front end, so this one is for you. This is a fake dummy data site, JSON placeholder dot type I core. You can get the any type of data, means post data, comment, about, photos, to-dos, user, and just click on the user. It gives us the this array of object. Just copy this file or URL and paste here, and always give into the double quotes, and it return the response.json, not the reside response. Okay, I just a type a mistake. Yes, now it's so first we get the response, then we return the response.json. So here user fetch is just a name here, action name, and inside the sync function we call the API and we return the data. So that's a Redux Toolkit handle everything. You do not have to write anything, just write this a normal function. Now handle this inside the slices. For that, first make a file that says user slice.js, and inside this user and this folder, inside this first we have to create a slice const user slice equal to create slice from, and import from the Redux Toolkit again. And this take a object. First one is the name here is the user, and initial state inside this give here data, a array, because data is come in the array format, and a loading is the false initially, and last one is the error is in null. And we have to write here the reducer. This one is a blank, and one more is the extra reducer. It's take a builder and a arrow function, and inside this builder dot add case, inside this we use the fetch user first. I think I'm not a, yes, I forget to export this. Just write here export const fetch user, because if I do not export, how can I use into the user slice? So here fetch user, it import from the user thunk file, and inside this dot pending state. In the pending state, make modify the state by, means initial state, modify state dot loading true. I think any yes, string. So here first one is the pending state, builder dot add case, and means first add the this one case pending state. Second one is the dot add case fetch user dot fulfill. If it is fulfilled, then it gives us the two things. First one is the initial state and second is the action. In the initial state, first we have to make loading false, and if it is fulfilled, then we get the data, and we have to use the state dot data is equal to action dot payload. So means we get the data here. Next one is the error state. Add case fetch user dot rejected, means if it is rejected, then again it gives the state and action, the two things, and inside this we have to write here state dot loading, means make it false, there is no need to write again, and also write here state dot error equal to action dot error, and inside this error object we have a message name and stack, we have to write a message. So this is not a comma. Yes. So, and we also have to export this export default user slice dot reducer, so we can use into the store.gss file. So look here, when API start, when API start, it comes into the pending state, then it's set to the loading state to true, means this spinner start. Then when API get the result, means API success, then loading becomes false, means we do not need spinner right now. Then and also data comes into the API, means we can get the data here into the API response, like we are retrieving the data from an server, when we reload the refresh the page, it goes to the true, then spinner start. When we get the data, we means copy this into the this data initial state, and if API false, then loading state again false, there is no need to write again run the spinner, just show the error message. So this is the standard asynchronous state structure. Now if you see here initial state, why we use this state structure? Because loading is true, show spinner, and when error exit, then show the error, otherwise show the data, and data always come into the array format, and this makes the UI predictable. Now let's dispatch into the component. Let's make a new component for the this fetch user here inside this users dot JSX file RAFCE, and let's connect this into the app.jsx file, not right here, just user component. Now this our user component is connected, yes. So let's try to write here inside this. First we have to means get the data, means how can I get the data? Use the use dispatch and this gives a function. Dispatch is here is a function, and whenever the component mount, means whenever we come to this component, we there is only one way, use the use effect, and the use effect takes two things. First one is the callback function, second one is the dependency array. Inside this dependency array, write dispatch, call the fetch user function, and there is one more rule, we in the dependency array give the dispatch. So why we give the dependency here? Because this is a rule inside this. This function is provided by the this dispatch use dispatch is provided by the React Redux, right? And technically dispatch is a function of reference function, and React rule says every value used inside the use effect must be included inside the dependency array. Means if it is a function, then must be included here where in the dependency array. That's why I write here dispatch. Either if you give here the empty dependency array, then it load the data here one time, means whenever the component mounts in the whenever the component whenever we go into that component, but whenever something change, so that's why we use the dispatch here. Now let's write here inside this div, because data first we have to retrieve, means get the data here also. For that, use the use selector. In the initial state we have the data, second one is the loading, third one is the error, and it comes from the use selector state, but here catch is the I did not add any slice here in the store. For that, first give here users and users reducer, and right here import users, not users, reducer from file, from the slice here in the features, in the user, and in the user slice. So now I am able to get the user means this slice method and this initial state. Now inside this right here users, now I am able to get the right data here. Let's console this data in this, open this. I get an array 10 of because this one has the 10 values, and see id is 10 and last one is the Clementine here. If you see here, last one is this this data. So now let's this come into the array format. For that, how can I map? Just write data dot map. It take a single value user and paragraph tag, and just write user dot name, and also give here the key. This is assigned, this is not a temporary, means always use the key here. Now let's see. Yes, our this function show the, means this method, means this UI show the all the 10 names here of the users. Now if loading state comes, means whenever we refresh, then if loading, right here return the paragraph tag that says loading. You can use the spinner here also, and same for the error, then show error, error message. Now see loading come. Whenever I refresh the page, the loading state comes, and whenever I get means when I get the data, then it show the data here. So here when components load, we dispatch the fetch user from the user this one function, and Redux update the state. Component read enters automatically. That is the fully asynchronous flow, and you already know the dispatch comes here because from the this from use dispatch. And now let's see the what happened automatically, means this, yes, the 3 state pending, fulfill, reject, I already told you, and we do not write into the reducer function normal. Yes, maybe you think why we not write inside the reducer this object. We use the extra reducer for the asynchronous task. And understanding the state structure, this one, data loading error means this one is the basic structure. You have to write always loading, error state, and data. And dispatching the asynchronous task, we just write here dispatch inside this component, inside the dependency array. And access the asynchronous state, just use the because this is a object, so we are destructuring the object. Now real world flow, let's understand what actually happen. Component reload means whenever refresh the page means component load, it's dispatch the fetch user here, and this one dispatch the fetch user, and fetch user call the API here, it call the API this one, and whenever this call pending action trigger loading queue, and it show the loading in the UI. And if API access success, then fulfill action triggers means we can able to get the data here, and data store in the Redux, and component re-render again. And that's how asynchronous work in the Redux toolkit. Loading and error handling I already show you. And advantages of asynchronous RTK Redux toolkit, like here less boilerplate code means we do not try to means code many, just use the inbuilt code. Cleaner code, yes. Better code handling, error handling, yes, we can get the data here. Easy to scale, yes. For this is for the large application like e-commerce, banking app, that has many components. Some best practices: keep the asynchronous logic in a separate file, like I write here in a user Thunk file, and always handle the loading and error state, and keep the slice clean, like we write here in the make it two slices, first one for the user slice, second for the counter slice. So always use this, divide the your part into the slices, and use the proper folder structure, like use the features. If you want to make one more, just write counter and just make into the counter folder. So this is the folder structure for this. And most important, never ignore error handling. So let's summarize this. So today we learn what asynchronous Redux is, what createAsyncThunk, and how pending, fulfill, loading, and rejected work, how to connect to UI. So if you understand this video, congratulations, you just crossed one of the most confusing topic in the Redux. In the next video, we will learn Redux developer tools and best practices to build this scalable application. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe to JDCodebase, and keep learning consistently. See you in the next video.